Hey y'all, Ali from Little Hill Homestead. We recently bought 5 pounds of raspberry pieces from Azure Standard. I told you guys we make raspberry juice out of them. Then we can it and make it ourselves. And a lot of you guys asked how we do that. So today I'm going to show you guys. First off, it's early in the morning. Do you guys ever get tired of seeing me in my wake up clothes? Anyways, this is step one. First thing when I get up in the morning, yes, I've already had a cup of coffee. I take our raspberry pieces, frozen, stick them in a pan, y'all. Throw them in the pan, do not turn it on. And then I let them sit for like, I don't know, 3-4 hours and totally defrost. It's the easiest way to separate them to get them into the jars when we get to that point. So sometimes I do it the night before if I want to can in the morning, but I wasn't planning on canning today, but my freezer is getting so full of tomatoes from our garden that I'm out of room for these raspberries now. So it is time. Anyways, step one, put your frozen raspberries in a pan and don't turn it on. You can put it in a bowl too. It has a lid. It's ready to go. Okay, I'll be back in a few hours. Okay, we are back. I let my raspberries completely defrost in the pan, so they're literally like liquid. What I like about these raspberries, I do not buy whole raspberries because we're gonna break them down anyways. And so you can get them at a fraction of the price of buying whole raspberries if you buy the bits and pieces or whatever it's called, pieces and I don't know. They're from Azure Standard. You get 5 pounds in a bag and it's not very expensive for what you get. I wanted to talk about a couple basic things that you need for canning. Starting with something like a juice or a jam is a really great place to get started canning because it's not overwhelming. Sometimes when you start with pickles are pretty easy too, but sometimes if you start with like beef stew and pressure canning, start simple, y'all. Canning itself is overwhelming the first few times anyways, so we're gonna take it down to an easy level. So I wanna walk you through a few things that you need to can. Okay, first you need some kind of food to can. You need jars. I ran mine through the dishwasher and then I run it on the hot, dry function or sterilized depending on what kind you have. So you need some kind of jars. We are using 2 sizes today. Use what you have. If you have half pints, that's a little small for this. I would at least do a pint or larger and go with it. We have 1.5 pints. These are from Azure Standard. Their jars are amazing. If you have not tried Azure Standard's jars and you order from them anyways, definitely worth a try. If you haven't heard of Azure Standard, hit me up in the comments below. Happy to share about them. We're using quite a few things from them today, and we find we get more and more from them every month because they're a great company. I do have some ball jars as well. Ball doesn't make this size anymore. I do have a few from previous years, but they don't make this size anymore. I also have, these are quart jars. So they're a little bit bigger than these guys, but I got what I got. I kind of dig through and that's what you have. So jars, typically when you buy them the first time, not always, come with a ring and they come with a lid. You need these for canning. You can get these fairly inexpensive. I get asked all the time what brands I like. There's a few I don't like. Like we got some in the Amish community when we were up there and people swear by the Amish lids. I had a really high failure rate on those ones. And I don't know if I used them wrong or what. I used them last canning season. I won't use them again. So these ones are ball because it's what I had. I stock up on them. Every time I go to like Walmart, I grab a little $3 box of them so that when canning season gets here, it doesn't cost me $50 to buy these. And then these, I have a billion of them. I keep them on a bungee cord in the other room hooked to a shelf because otherwise they just get overwhelming and everywhere. So you need those for your jars. My jars are sterilized, they are clean. You want to either dunk them in hot water to sterilize them, run them through your dishwasher. You need clean jars. The other things you need are something to lift your jars out of your pot, which we'll talk about in a second. These are just cheapy ones. Again, I think we got these at Walmart. I've had them for probably 20 years. I'm not joking. They usually have, let me give you a basic. The edge that's like a silicone shape and round is not the handle. That is the part you're gonna lift the jar out with. And then it has some kind of handle usually on the other end. So these, you're basically gonna reach down into the jar and lift your jars out. You need something like this. They're not very expensive. You need a canning funnel. I have a plastic one, get them from Walmart. I really wanna invest in a good metal one. I just haven't done it yet. So there's that. You need some kind of stick or knife to get the bubbles out of your jars. You don't want bubbles in there. That can cause issues. You need something to get your contents from your bowl or your dish into your jars. I have a ladle I've had for years and years for a pot. You need something deep enough. So it needs to cover water. It needs to be able to cover your jars about 2 inches once you put these in full of food. So like this one, I can't do that because it's taller than my pot already. If you have an old pot that you got from grandma that is gonna cover it completely, use that. I have a pressure canner, which I need to turn down. It's like on full force here. I have a pressure canner. I use it for water bath canning all the time because I already have it. It's deep enough and it has the little plate at the bottom, which is another thing you need. So I just use that and I don't turn the lid to make it a pressure canner. So use what you have. I also have an old pressure cooker from like the 1950s, 60s, 70s, it's old, that is not usable anymore, but it works perfectly for this. If I use that one, like I was saying, you need something at the bottom. So they sell these at Walmart. I don't use it very often, you guys. It's like a silicone doodad. You can also bundle up foil and put it in the bottom of there, or I've seen people do kitchen towels in the bottom of it. Basically, you just don't want your jar to sit directly on the bottom of your pot. I think those, the last thing you need is to be able to clean the tops of your jars once you have food in them. You can't have anything sitting on the rim or the lids won't hook on securely and correctly because there's something preventing it from doing its job. I got this little, it's like a nail polish remover dispenser. I got it from Dollar Tree. I keep vinegar in it, and then you need a clean cloth. So when I clean the tops of my jars, all I do is pump this on it. Super nifty. You can use a paper towel too. And then the last thing, I don't know why I buried it under all this stuff. Let me move some of this out of the way. I won't need it for a second anyways. The last thing you need is some kind of heat-proof mat for when your jars come out of the pressure canner or the water bath canner. They're gonna be really hot and they need to sit for about 24 hours untouched. We, Little Hill Homestead, we make canning mats. If you haven't seen them, they are in our Etsy shop. I will link it below. We have a million different designs. They can hold a boatload of jars, you guys. They hold 20 of these guys, or 30 half pints. We measured it all out. And 35 I can't remember. It's in the description on our Etsy thing. We have a million different colors. I made one this morning because this is my first time canning for the season. I haven't canned since last year. And I wanted chickens in green because it basically is my whole house encompassed into a canning mat. So we do sell these. They are 5 layers thick and they have an insulation in the middle that prevents heat from getting through, kind of like a hot pad. So they're great for setting on your counters. So if you don't have one of our fancy things, you can double up like a beach towel really easily. Or some people use the mats that you sit on next to your counter for your dishes, like the dish drying mats. Those were great too, you guys. Don't go out and spend an arm and a leg on it. But today's recipe, we're making raspberry juice, in case I didn't get to that. This is raspberry juice we made last year. This was made in 2024, and I'm down to 1. That's all we have left. As you can see, it's got just little raspberry bits floating around in liquid. That's kind of what it is like when you can your own stuff. We love to strain the raspberries off and we mix it with ginger ale and make mocktails that we enjoy each evening. And the raspberry is by far my favorite. We also love to use raspberry juice like in ice creams or in homemade baked goods, things like that. And the chickens love the little bits that we strain off. We throw it out there for them. They think it's like a whole treat. So that's what we're making today. We're using a process very similar, actually almost identical, to when you can your own cranberry juice. So this is a cranberry juice we did last year. It's siphoned a little bit, but it's all good. It's sealed. So it's the same thing. I mean, cranberries and raspberries are really, really similar overall. There you guys go. We do have recipes. We have quite a few canning recipes on the channel, but we do have the cranberry one is already on the channel. So are you ready to get started? Let me get some of this stuff out of the way. This recipe, I try to make things easy. I don't like to overcomplicate stuff, even though I just spent 10 minutes telling you about what you need in life. Don't overcomplicate it. I think people do that and it becomes overwhelming, and we don't need overwhelming. We already have enough crud going on in our lives. Let's keep something simple, right? So I have my clean jars that I'm just gonna move a little closer just so that it's just easier for me. And I need this on top of our jars. I have the raspberry pulp. It's basically like raspberry pieces. They're very broken down. So I have that in here. I have a 1.5 cup measuring cup. So basically for every pint jar, we're doing 1 cup of raspberries. These are 1.5 pints, so they're gonna get 1.5, and then these ones are a little bit bigger, so they're gonna get a little smidgen extra into each one. Step 1. I don't know how many this is gonna make, so this is probably overkill, but it's fine. I need to buy a wide mouth one of these. That's what I need to do. I'm gonna use similar ones all at first, and then if I don't have space, I'll use the other ones. I think we're gonna be fine though, you guys. Oop, I have another one hiding in the mix over here. Now, one thing that if you are new to canning that I would go back and change if I had to start over is these are all wide mouth jars, except I have a few narrow mouth. I prefer wide mouth for 90% of what I can. If I could go back, I would stick with one style so that you only have to buy one kind of ring and lid for the rest of eternity. I hate that I have to pull some narrows and some wides, and that's just one of my little tips. Let me get that out of here. This is, oop, I already did that one. Don't do that one again. No double dipping. I need to remember to move the thing first. So this plops in really easily. Can you do this from frozen? Okay, so I tried with the way Azure does their fruit, it comes like in a, not a block, but it comes kind of stuck together. And so if you want to beat it up and get that to break apart a little bit, you can put your frozen in here, let it completely defrost in your jar and do it that way too. But you don't want to can from frozen. You want it to be defrosted. I need to price raspberry juice. I love to do price comparisons for you guys. Let me see. It looks like it's gonna make 7 jars. I love to do price comparisons for you guys so that it's like, is my time worth it to be canning this? Or am I just wasting my time? Like, let's be real. Because like, there's certain things that I will spend a little bit more money on to ensure that I have a really good ingredient. Because I feel like if you have good ingredients, you end up with a better product in the end. But there are things that I'm so sorry I don't want, and we've done this for the channel before, making your own mustard. It costs me more to make my own than it does to buy a good clean one from the grocery store. Use your time wisely. Our time is valuable, so you know. Anyways, if you're new to the channel, we rant sometimes about whatever is on my mind that day. Oh, and in case you also head to our Etsy shop, we sell a 9x13 hot pad that fits bread. I do my bread loaves on here. Hot things like what we're gonna be doing right now are great on it. It can fit a 9x13 casserole dish. These things are awesome, which these basically are just a giant version of this. Let me grab my water. I have just hot water going over here, you guys. I brought it to a boil and it's been sitting on the stove waiting for me. Okay, I ended up with 7 of these. I need to price a good raspberry juice to do comparison. And I know raspberry juice comes in different amounts like gallons or whatever, but it's fine. We need some sugar. You can use cane sugar. You can use white sugar from the grocery store. You can use organic sugar. You could use coconut sugar. You use whatever sweetened sugar substitute form you want. I get asked about that all the time. You can also up the sugar or decrease the sugar based on what you like. We like to do just under 1/2 cup per jar. Remember, we dilute this when we go to use it, and so it is a little bit sweeter because we dilute it into other things that aren't as sweet. That was a mouthful. So I do just under 1/2 cup, and I'm gonna put it right on top of our berries. I can hear one of my chickens singing her morning egg song for us. Love it. We got our first white egg yesterday, which is so funny because why would you be excited about a white egg when you've got browns and greens, and we have one that's laying like an olive color? I mean, we're having so much fun with these girls in our yard, but I was so excited to see white because we hadn't seen one yet. We have 2 that are supposed to be laying white eggs. She missed the mark and laid it in the run, but you know, We all have days, right? All right, there's our sugar. Now, what I'm gonna do, let me get my spatula and these doodle daddles. By the way, my canning pot is currently heating up, so it's ready to go when we're ready. I have it on like medium. I brought it to a boil and then I backed it up a little bit because I don't want it to just sit there boiling and boiling and boiling. And we get asked about this all the time. Our stove is a Pre-Way. I can't remember the company that makes it. There's very few of them in the US left. She's from the 1940s, we believe. The company stopped making them because of the war, so we can kind of figure out a time from that. But she is a canning stove, which is kind of why we picked her. She has a big space in the middle, so I can run 2 to 3 canners at a time on her. I can't quite do 4. It doesn't quite shuffle right, even though it's supposed to be the same, but because I have one larger burner, it kind of messes with it. But if I wanted to have a canning palooza, I totally could. She is not a reproduction. I wish that I could tell you something different, but she's not. So all I'm gonna do now is fill my jars and leave some headspace with hot water. For this one, I like to do about a 1/2 inch headspace at the top, and I use the rings to kind of guess. When I first started, I would ruler each one. It doesn't have to be quite so specific as some people make it. Yes, it does need to be a little bit, but you don't want siphoning and crazy stuff happening. But so this hot water is gonna start to melt our sugar, which is why I don't do like a simple syrup where I put the sugar in here, because I just didn't know how much I quite needed with what I had. I've made extra before. All we do is feed it to the hummingbirds, so it's fine, which I need to make a batch of anyways. Maybe I'll save whatever water I've got left and do that. I swear they fly out and stare at me like, lady, you need to get your life together because these things are empty. Who's with me? I love having them out there. We've moved the garden this year, so we don't see quite as many as we did in previous years when they were a little closer to the house, but they're still out there. Anyways, have we started canning for the season yet? You guys, I know I did a whole thing on it. Our garden is not doing well. We have a lot of pests that we are dealing with. Like I said, we moved our garden, and just moving it a little bit to a different spot in the yard has really affected the stuff we're getting. We have the problems with the crepe myrtle, and we're gonna try to deal with that over the winter. But I was so frustrated the other day, I told Shawn, I'm not even gonna do a garden next year. I'm just gonna plant flowers in all of our beds so that I have something pretty to look at that isn't so time consuming. Because unless I can get out there every single day and weed and pick, and it gets just out of control. I know it's a labor of love, so. But we're getting a lot of tomatoes, so we will have some tomato recipes coming so soon. Cucumbers, no, they're already dead. And then all of our squash, the biggest fear was having squash bugs, and we bought resistant varieties, and it didn't work. We still got squash bugs. They annihilated it. We did get 3 zucchini though before they took it out. All right, let me move this out of our way, and we'll get to the next step. Okay, so now we have our contents in our jars. The next 2 steps. 1, you want to take you could use a knife, you can use this, I use an old chopstick because you can get them like anytime we get fast food Chinese, which is not that often. They give you 15 extra sets, and we just save them. So our sugar, because it's hot, is going to dilute right into our water, dissolve right into our water. So I just give it a good stir. And that also breaks up those raspberry bits, so now there's no air stuck in there. So I'm going to do that to every single one of them. Just give it a shake. Shake. Do not shake it. There is no lid on it, y'all. I don't know if I'm going to fit this all in one canner load. I'm not sure yet. Usually I know how many fit in there. I think it will because I think it fits more than this. But, really? Y'all, you should have yelled, Ali, you're screwing up already. And I had an extra unloaded here. What is wrong with my brain? Anyways, welcome in. This is how I function. Or don't function. It's fine. I did spill a little bit. It's fine. These are really hot. Go figure. Hot water in glass. Surprised right now. So I find that when I get my canning stuff out, I like to do a bunch of stuff like day after day and get it all done. And then I put it away for months sometimes before I pull it back out. Are you like me? Sometimes I find that it's out for like the whole summer. Like 2 years ago, I canned probably 1,000 jars of stuff because our garden did really well. We had the time to do it. I'd wake up every morning. I would jump in the pool instead of showering. I know, we have an outdoor shower. So I would go shower off, and then I felt like I spent the whole day in my kitchen doing what I love. But it's not the case this year. I'm still doing stuff that I love. It's just not canning. Okay, like I was saying, we use vinegar on the tops of ours. It's more important to use vinegar when you're doing something that's oily, like meats, and not as much when you're doing something like this, but sugar gets sticky. And so we do want to make sure that our tops of each one are clean. If you are new to canning and I skipped any information, any steps that you're like, wait, hold up. Comment below. We read every single comment that you guys leave, and we try to answer, or at least like or heart them as well. So Shawn sometimes reads them, I sometimes read them. Well, that's the only people that read them. But we always try to answer you guys. So if you have any questions I have skipped over, maybe went too fast, hit me up. It's fine. Okay, so like I was saying, we need lids. These are just a Ball brand that we get at Walmart. I loved Golden Harvest, and I think they have discontinued them because Ball bought them out. It is what it is. I do really like the ones from Azure. They are thick. What brand is that? You guys hit me up below because I can't remember. But it's not Pure. It's not 4 jars. Anyways, I really like theirs. They are really thick. These ones, you used to have to boil them in water to loosen up, I believe it's wax. The wax part so that it's stuck on the jar correctly. They changed that a couple years ago, probably 20 years ago. I don't even know at this point. So you don't have to do that anymore. So don't soak them in water. I see a lot of people that have failure rates, and I'm like, did you know that you don't have to do that step now? I don't know. But there you guys go. And then all you're gonna do is fingertip tight your jars. Let me move some of these out of the way. I feel like I have a mess going on today, but this is my brain. This is how it rolls. Okay, let me slide these out of the way because I want to show you fingertip tight, and I feel like if I have too much going on, you can't see it correctly. So fingertip tight, because you want it to be able to get the air to do what it needs to do when you're canning. I basically put the lid on, and I make sure that it's on the threads, and then I spin it, and then once the jar starts to spin with it, you see the jar is now going with it, I hold the jar, remember it's a little bit warm, and I give it a little turn. It could go a whole lot farther. You don't want it to. So I will show you that one more time. I think this is one of those things that people do wrong a lot. So get it on the threads, and then as soon as the jar starts to spin with it, grab it and give it, I don't know, that was maybe a 1-inch turn. So I'm gonna do that with all of our jars. I kind of just know it by feel now. I don't have to do every single one quite that loosely, slowly, whatever the word is. So like I said, my water bath canner is boiling away back here. Not a like heavy boil. You want a nice boil, but it's fine. So these ones we are gonna water bath can for 25 minutes, which is a little bit longer. A lot of jars, like water bath can stuff, goes for about 10 minutes, but we want this stuff to really boil and start to cook this fruit to make it into juice. So there you go. Let me open my canner. Be really careful when you lift lids off because steam is not nice. It can burn badly. All right, let me get this out of the way. So I have the plate that comes with a pressure cooker at the base. It's like a little, it lifts it up just a little bit. Like I was saying, put some foil at the bottom in balls. You can put a kitchen towel at the bottom of it underneath your water. Do whatever you need to do so these aren't sitting directly on it. Grab the top that is the straight part. That's your handle. And you're gonna grab around right below, there's like a lip that it'll hook onto. We're gonna lift it like this and get it in your canner. I hope that I'm getting all this information to you not so quickly, but also not so slow that you're like bored. So we're gonna get these all in our canner and hope that you have enough water to do at least 2 inches above all the lids. That's what we're aiming for. I like to take one of my jars, and as I'm filling my canner with water, I keep sinking my jar into it, or notice like a line on the side as you're doing it, so that you know like, oh yeah, that's where I need to be. All right, we're gonna be fine because it's already covering our jars. And then I'm gonna crank my heat back up so these get canning and we want the water to get back to hot. All right, I put my lid back on, but I rest it on there and don't turn it because otherwise it's gonna start to build pressure. That's not what we want. So as soon as you start to hear the water and the clinking and you know that it's got like a nice little boil going on or rolling, it's not like a heavy boil. You want it just to be a nice, not rocking your jars around boil. You set it for 25 minutes. So I'm gonna set mine for 25 minutes when I get to that point, and then I'll come back and show you in 25 minutes what we need to do next. Like I was saying, you can do this same recipe I've done it with blueberries, we've done it with peaches, it was a little bit weird, cranberries, strawberries don't work because they're not as high in acid. It worked, but it made more like a jam texture. They didn't kind of break down the same way as a berry does. But if you were to do like a berry mixture, like I know Costco sells like a berry trio, an organic frozen berry mix, something like that would work great. But anyways, I like cranberries my favorite. Actually, raspberry is my favorite. I'm not gonna lie. That's why we are where we are. I'm gonna go price raspberry juice, organic raspberry juice right now to see kind of dollar for dollar where we end up while this is getting going. My timer just went off. What I'm gonna do now is just take my lid off and set it to the side and turn my burner off and leave it just be. So again, if you're taking your lid off, be really, really careful because that steam wants to jump and attack you. It's just what it wants to do. So we're just gonna set it to the side, and then I just made sure my burner is off, and then we're just gonna let it kind of chill there for a second. You don't want to take it out too quickly or it shocks it and it can cause siphoning. And we don't want that because we want the juice to stay in the jars. So I'm gonna let that sit for a second, but I did a little bit of prep work. So I'm really kind of surprised because I went online and I was like, I'm gonna look up the cost of raspberry juice. I love to do this in my videos because like I said before, it justifies me spending time doing something like this versus just spending, I mean, if it's gonna cost me 50 cents to make it and it cost me 49 cents to buy it with the same ingredients, you know what I mean? You need to make it make sense. So I broke it down. We get our berries. These are just the frozen raspberry pieces from Azure Standard. They are $12.65 for a 5-pound frozen bag. We get it with our Azure pickup. We've used it. We make raspberry jam with it that it's really good. But today we're making the raspberry juice. So if you break that down, we got 7 jars. It's $1.80 a jar. Okay. Cool. So I started looking up raspberry juice. I had no idea that it's like virtually impossible to find. Kroger doesn't carry anything like it. No grocery stores, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, nobody has raspberry juice. That's just raspberry. They all basically add a little bit of raspberry to cranberry or raspberry lemonade, which by the way, this would be awesome in. So I did end up finding one at Walmart. It's online only. It's $25. No. And the other one I did find on Amazon is 32 ounces, same ingredients, $23.99 for 32 ounces. Yeah, that's astronomical. So my $1.80 a jar plus the cost of sugar at a half a cup, depending on what kind you use, we're under $2. Like, money saver. Plus you gotta account for the cost of your jar lid because those you can't reuse. You need to buy a new one each time. Anyways, Azure Standards lids are called Superb. I went and looked that up. But I wanted to tell you 2 more things about the raspberry jam. No, we're not making jam, we're making juice. If you want to up your sugar, instead of doing like half a cup, I would honestly go to about 2 cups of sugar. You get more like a raspberry syrup concentrate if you do that. And then you can use it for things like raspberry lemonade or raspberry coffees, raspberry iced teas, and it'll be a much more sweet, pungent flavor. Not more raspberry. That's gonna be the same. It's just gonna be much thicker and sweeter. So the other thing you can do is add 0. Don't add any sugar, just a really tart berry juice if you want to then add it to something that's already sweetened. Awesome, right? Then I thought, you know what, let me look up, I mean, I know raspberries have lots of health benefits, but let's do a quick, what are the good things about them? So they have anti-aging antioxidants. Yeah, we all need that, right? The other thing is they boost circulation. So if you have diabetes or something like that and you have circulation issues, throw a little raspberry in your life every day. And it doesn't have to be juice. They can just be frozen and you throw them on your yogurt in the morning, or cook them in a baked good, or just eat some raspberries. Boost circulation. It enhances or helps with eye health. We have a family member very close to us that has macular degeneration, and I don't know if she knows this. So I'm going to definitely call her and say, hey, because if you're going through a disease like that, you kind of look for any answer you can. So if you know of a help for macular degeneration, or you are dealing with it yourself, I'm sorry. Any information you can provide to us that helps, let me know. It improves digestive health if you're having restroom issues. There you guys go. They're high in fiber. That's why. They have anti-inflammatory properties or anti-cancer properties. So some people say they protect you from cancer. I'm going to do a little more research on that before I say like, hey, look. But that one came a lot. And then the other one is it helps lower blood pressure and helps with heart health. So yeah, I could have my little mocktail at night with my little bit of diet ginger ale, and I'm going to be like, I'm fighting the world. I'm going to be younger, weight loss. It helps with weight loss too. Of course, we added sugar to it, so that kind of defies the purpose. But I'm going to be like younger, anti-cancer, great eyesight. I mean, like, think all the benefits. Anyways, but I wanted to share that with you. The next thing that I have my canning mat ready so that we can pull these out. But I wanted to show you, we have a label maker called the Foamimo. I will link it. It's from Amazon. I think a billion of you bought it last year when we talked about it. It prints these little tiny labels that stick to the top of your jars perfectly. So we did the same ones last year. I reprinted them this year. This thing is really, really inexpensive, and the rolls of these stickers are really cheap. I have a little case that somebody sent us, but you can't put it on when they are hot because it is a heat thing. So they turn black if you do that. So wait, and then these stick right on. I usually put the year and what I'm canning so that I can peel them off and reuse. I don't reuse my canning lids for canning purposes, but I do a lot around my kitchen with them. So there you go. Has it been 5 minutes? Anyways, let me show you how to take this out and how you guys, how to get this out of here. So like I said before, this is your handle. This is the part that takes the jar out. I know it seems so simple, but if it's so many, you go, oh my God, I've been using it wrong for years. Like, you could still use it this way, but the gripper doesn't work as well if you use it wrong. So our canning jars, you can let these sit. I usually do 5 to 10 minutes and let them sit. I don't know exactly what we're at, but that's okay. I'll pull one out anyways. I have a problem with keeping my hand, like it's a balance thing, so I know. And then I'm just gonna put them right onto our canning mat, where I'm gonna let them sit for, I'll probably slide the canning mat to the other side so they're not in my cooking space, but about 24 hours. They need to chill. Now with cranberries, not cranberries, stop saying that, with raspberry juice. I like to go every so often and give them a shake because sometimes the sugar will settle at the bottom of there. They're already pinging, I love it. Will settle at the bottom. And so we want to kind of continue to remind it that it wants to go into the mix. So I will go out and shake them after the 24-hour mark, just every every week until these are ready to use. I like to give them 4 to 6 weeks to really incorporate and do their thing. You can use them now, they won't be as strong. And we ended up with 7 jars of this. Like I was saying, if you apparently are gonna buy raspberry juice, it's gonna cost you your firstborn child, your everything you own. I mean, it's astronomical how expensive it was to me. But anyways, here's our very frugal version. Like I was saying, you can use this same recipe for other berries. We do cranberries with it. We have that recipe on the channel. I love pings. It's the best noise. I was looking at my canning shelf. We did blackberries last year from Frozen from Azure as well. We have the raspberry bits and pieces. There was something else sitting out there. I can't remember. We do a pomegranate. Anyways, the next video we're going to be doing for canning something like this using products, whatever, not from your garden. We're going to be showing you guys how we make elderberry jam from some products we got from Azure as well. So there you guys go. Anyways, let these sit 4 to 6 weeks, consume them to your heart's desire, and thank me because it's freaking delicious. Anyways, I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. And if you have any questions, like I said, just comment below. We do our best to answer your questions. And then if you want the recipe, this is with any of our videos on the entire channel. If you hit the description button below, it will drop down and it will give you the recipes. We write them in there so that you don't have to sit here and try to figure out what I'm saying as I say it, because I know I'm all over the place. So there you guys go. Recipe will be below, as well as some links to some other videos. Have a fantastic day, and I hope you enjoyed the ride. Oh, and don't forget to check out our Etsy shop. Thanks, guys.